Hi, I'm Valerie Espinosa. I'm your New Mexico Public Regulation Commissioner, and I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of our program. Today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Linda Ortiz, and when I was the county clerk in Santa Fe, we worked closely together, especially on election day, and whenever we needed assistance, you were always very responsive and very knowledgeable. So I'd like to welcome you back. I haven't seen you in a while, but it's good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Welcome. So the reason we're here is, this program, we've had this program for about 15 years, and what I like to do is just educate the public about what your elected officials do, what services they provide, and those that are running for office can, tell their story and say, or see why we should support, the candidates that are running and what their message is. So with that, Ms. Ortiz, I do believe you're running for Santa Fe County Sheriff.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
And so just tell us about your history with the department and, all about you, who you are, your family. I think I know your father and, your history here in Santa Fe. Yes.
Thank you, Valerie. I am a native here in Santa Fe. I grew up here. My family's grown up here. I'm a single mother. I have a son who's 24 years old. His name is Esteban. I graduated from Santa Fe High School. After going to school here in Santa Fe, I ended up working at the Juvenile Probation Office for the First Offender Program. And while there, I learned quite a bit. And I decided
I bet you saw a lot too.
Yes. I sat there and I decided that I wanted to do something different, and I decided to go into law enforcement, and I applied for the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Department. And while there at the Sheriff's Office, I was excited about it, and I decided that I needed to serve my community, to help serve and protect my community. And
protect is a biggie.
Yes. And that's when I pursued my career and went into the Sheriff's Office, went to the New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy, graduated from there, and just moved up in the ranks there at the Sheriff's Office.
Are you still there?
No, I retired from there in 2013.
And when you say you went up in the ranks, when you left there, what was your rank,
Yes, I retired as a lieutenant in charge
nice.
Of the Swing Shift Patrol Division. And while there, we handled many calls, and we were protecting and serving our community in reference to just making sure that the deputies would attend their calls and making sure everybody was safe.
What do you think about, everything happening in the news? I mean, it seems like sometimes it feels like the criminals have more rights than the police officers. I mean, you always have to be careful,
Well, that's one of my priorities there in reference to restoring confidence, because law enforcement has had a black mark placed on them in reference to a lot of incidents that have been happening nationwide. It's not just here in our community, it's nationwide. And with all of that, it would be nice if I can sit there, restore confidence by making sure that the community trusts our law enforcement officers, making sure that our law enforcement officers respect our community, making sure that we are all here working together to come to a conclusion by making this community the best community that we reside in. And by doing all of that, I need the support from our community, and I need the support from our law enforcement officers so we can work together to provide a safe community for all of us to reside in here. That's one of my main priorities here that I would love to do when I get here, or when I get elected in. That's just one of the things I'd like to do.
What do you think about neighborhood policing? I know that's a big issue in Albuquerque, and now you're hearing the mayor's race, and you hear the councilors talking and the debates going on. It would always be nice. I live in the city, but it would be so nice to have this community patrolling, you know, or the police patrolling your neighborhoods because you feel that much more secure, just in case, you know, you're at work during the day.
Yes, that's community policing. And with community policing, every law enforcement officer should know in their district who resides in their community and who are the offenders in their community, so we can sit there and all work together. And with the community going and helping out and telling us, okay, yes, this neighborhood watch program is here, let's all get together and let's contact law enforcement. That's an open communication, which is another priority that I do have, where I'd love for the community to come and voice their concerns, and we can go ahead and try to solve or make sure we solve that problem if there is a problem within their community. Going over there and talking to our community members, talking to you know, even our youth, going out there and speaking to our youth, and they're the ones that see everything. We need to make sure that there's resources that our youth get involved in so they won't have to get into any trouble. And if we do all of that and we all work together, we'd be able to solve everything that needs to be solved.
Well, you brought up youth, and I've participated quite a bit in these walks from, you know, the churches to the Chimayo, or to, you know, they're just drug walks. It's a walk and you involve the youth and you walk. And, you know, one time we walked all the way to the Santuario from the church in Alcalde, and literally, you know, picking up needles, and it was not a good thing. Do you think that, you know, there's a lot of drug problems here that we don't see, but northern New Mexico, unfortunately, you know, sees? They're exposed, unlike here in Santa Fe. What do you think the problem is here? Is there?
There is a lot of drug problems everywhere, and it doesn't matter on where you go. You know, it can go in Chimayo, it can be here in Santa Fe, it can be in Glorieta, it can be in Edgewood. We all need to make sure we have resources, and we need to educate our law enforcement officers in reference to the type of drugs that are still out there, and we need to educate our youth. When I first started with the sheriff's office, we had a DARE program, and we had the gang program, the GREAT program for gangs, and now there's really nothing in reference to that, to educate our youth about the drugs or educate our youth about the gangs. We need to restore all of that back. And once we do that, then I believe our youth would get more involved with law enforcement and not be afraid of law enforcement. And we can sit there and participate in many things. Like back then, they used to have the NDI, and our law enforcement and even our firefighters would dance with our youth, and they would be excited about it. And it's just getting everybody involved, and we need the education and the training for it to make sure that our community is involved in all of that.
And I know earlier we started talking about, you know, tell me a little about yourself, but I started asking you other questions that I was interested in hearing. And then so, you know, you grew up here and your family's here.
Yes.
And you went to the law, what is it, the academy?
The New Mexico Law
Was that
Enforcement
really
Academy?
difficult? What does that entail?
Well, at the time, I was there for 10 weeks. Now it's increased to, I believe, 16 to 22 weeks. They've been changing it off and on there. But when I was there for 10 weeks, it was
thorough.
Very.
What was the criteria?
Well, we had to do everything. We had our law block. We had our EVOC block, which is our emergency vehicle block. We had our firearms block. So we had different aspects of law enforcement that we were trained to do. And when we were there, yes, we had a little bit of downtime, but we also had the physical assessment that we were supposed to run 1.5 miles, and we were supposed to jump a 6-foot wall and climb.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't jump a 6-foot wall.
Well, now they have a barrel there for the women to go ahead and try to jump, but I we had 6 women in our class, and
I
we
was
did
going to ask
very
you
well.
that. Yeah.
All 6 of us ended up graduating.
Women are tough. We can
Yes.
handle it.
During that time, I also I hold the record for the women for the 1.5 miles there. Don't ask me to run now, because forget it, that won't.
I hear you. I hear you.
But it was very exciting. It really was, and you learned a lot. But now with everything that's going on, they've added other blocks in there. They've added the mental illness issues, where law enforcement officers have to have that training. But for me, as one of my priorities, I would like to make sure that our law enforcement, my deputies, get more training in the mental health issues. I believe that there is a problem that's going on, and we need to be able to understand every aspect of the illnesses that hit our community. It's not just the depression, it's not just the bipolar. We have so many mental illnesses that our deputies need to identify and to understand and show compassion, and not just jump to certain conclusions. We need to be able to sit there and have that training and educate our community about it, so everybody's informed and knows how to move forth on it, and make sure that we're there.
Interesting. So tell me more about some of the other priorities. You've hit on a couple, and I know you have certain priorities and a platform. What would your priorities be in becoming Santa Fe County Sheriff?
I've talked about restoring confidence. I've talked about the open communication. I've talked about educating and training our law enforcement officers in regards to mental illnesses. All of that just combines everything together, and with all of that, we would be able to serve and protect our community.
So do you think, how many sheriffs are there in? I always thought everybody was a sheriff, so I would always address all the sheriffs as sheriff, not, deputy. I just assumed that, every officer was a sheriff, and they'd say, no, I'm not sheriff.
No, there's only one sheriff in each county, and the sheriff is the main and the chief law enforcement agent, the chief law enforcement person of the county that's elected in. Everybody else, we have one under sheriff, and everybody else is considered a deputy sheriff.
I see.
And we're just all here to serve and protect.
I think there was something that I was on the board of the Association of Counties, and I remember there was an issue about, whoever runs for Santa Fe County, should they be certified? Is that still the case, where there is no such thing as certification? Anyone can run for?
I believe that's already been passed, indicating that the sheriff needs to be a certified law enforcement officer. I've kept my certification by attending my biennium training, and I've continued it since I retired. I did not want to lose my certification, so I've kept it up, and I've gone to their trainings, and I've gone to the New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy. And
do they teach you how to shoot there and make sure you hit the target?
That is one of the trainings that we do have.
Sort of like a concealed carry class.
No, it's not a concealed carry, because law enforcement, even though they retire, they can still carry their weapon. You still have to train.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Regardless?
Regardless.
Of the concealed carry?
Yes. We can still carry our weapon with us, because we're still retired law enforcement officers. And I still carry mine, and I still go out and shoot, and I ended up attending the mental health issues training, and I attended the legal update trainings. What else? Domestic violence trainings. I've attended all of those trainings to keep my certification.
Well, you probably saw a lot, speaking of domestic violence, while you served. You served 20 years?
I served 25 years.
25. That's a long time. You don't look like you served 25 years. See, you're 25.
Thank you.
That's a long history. I mean, I think police officers and firefighters, I could be very wrong. It only have to serve 20?
We can serve 20 years to receive a 70% of our retirement, and then it's moved up. And the reason I had retired was because PERA was making the changes that they did.
Right.
And I wanted to right now I wanted to go back, and I wasn't through serving my community. I wasn't through protecting my community. It was a career that I was very proud of, and I take a lot of enthusiasm by going out there and meeting a lot of people. It's unbelievable on the amount of people that I did meet out there doing my job and helping on who needed help, and protecting everyone that I needed to protect.
The thought crossed my mind when I was young and little, because you see so many bad things happen. You say, well, I want to do something about this. It sounds like that's what you're talking about in a sense. I want to, contribute and protect. And
yes.
With all the crazy things happening, some officer said to me once, everything happens, it seems like after 10 p.m., when everybody's gone to sleep. That's when we have to come out and deal with, some of the situations to keep you safe. Is that true? What has been your experience in terms of, what you've seen when you bring up domestic violence? How do you calm a situation? It'd be hard, for you not to take home everything, that has happened in your day.
And you do, and the best thing to do is always find somebody that you can talk to about that, and other co-workers, or if you have your spouse, or if you have a child that you can speak to, a good friend, to listen to you, because we see quite a bit out there while we're working, and it's a tough situation. But you know what, there are some satisfactions to it when you do catch a burglar, or you're helping a child that is in need, or you're helping a person that's involved in a domestic, and you're making sure that that person is safe. And we're all public servants here, and just the satisfaction of doing all that makes everything a whole lot better. And like I said, I loved my job, and now, talking about domestic violence, I'm taking a domestic violence class from Highlands University because I'm obtaining my degree now. And there was so much that I didn't know about, even
Causes.
Being in law enforcement, that I'm learning more. And everything is a learning experience. You learn as you go. It's on-the-job training, but
absolutely,
as much training and education that you can get, you know what, I'm all for it. And that is one thing that I would like to also do, is to extend the opportunity to other deputies to go ahead and enhance their education by obtaining their associate's degree or their bachelor's degree, and just moving forward, because you can never just not have enough training and not have enough education. By doing all of that, it would make everything great.
I think it's important to continue education and let the county pay for it. You build up, because when I was at Los Alamos, they paid for it, and I think that the county should pay for the employees to better themselves and be competitive in a market where, things are getting tough.
Yes. And there at the sheriff's office, one of the sergeants there, he's no longer there, he's retired, he did have an agreement with Highlands University that they would get their instructors to go out there, and I'd like to make sure that that continues, because if you can have that good rapport with them, you know what, I don't think that there should be any problem.
So this will be the final term of Mr. Garcia. Hats off to him for his 8 years of service, and he ends his term this December. No, not this December. He ends his term next year in December. I should know these things. Yes, I've lost track of elections. Being at the PRC, yes. I thought it was at the end of this year. So it's in June of next year when the election's actually being held. My cousin Cynthia's running for city council, and they just had their elections, and it's October, and then they have a runoff in November. So keeping up with the dates, you would be on the primary ballot in June. June 5th of 2018. 18th. Yes. And 2018. Yes. And if there is not anybody else running for the general election in November, then the sheriff will take office. Which is typically the case. Yes. They would take office, we would take office January 1st of 2019. Right. Right. So yes. So I'm going to ask you what I ask everyone, and I always offer the venue to whoever wants to appear, like you. anybody's welcome. And so I would ask the same question of those that are running, you know, why should the public support you?
Well, for me, I am a strong person, strong-willed. I get the job done. I am a good leader. I've always made sure that my deputies were always safe also, and that they'd go home every night. I sat there, I'm a good listener, I'm fair, and I just want to make sure that everybody is doing the job and held responsible for the job that they're supposed to be doing to protect our community.
So how does it work? And then we'll go back to that a little bit, but I'm kind of curious about, you know, there's issues with northern Rio Arriba County, or northern Santa Fe County, which is the Santa Cruz and all that other areas, all those areas that are, you know, in Santa Fe County, but yet the department's here, and so, you know, you have animal control issues, you have jurisdictional issues, and so how would you deal with that? Would you have like a satellite office, you know?
Well, we would have to, has to be collaboration between the agencies. And we have to have a good rapport with the city of Santa Fe. We have to have a good rapport with state police, Rio Arriba County, the tribal law enforcement agencies. And once you establish a good rapport, then everybody would work together. And that's an open communication. And you have to communicate with one another, because at the end of the night, all law enforcement officers have to go home.
I like the way you say that, at the end of the night, not at the end of the day, like everybody else is. You guys in your line of duty, it's like at the end of the night.
Yes.
Everybody.
We all have to go home also to our families and make sure our families are supported by us, because if we don't go home, then who's going to really support our family? But we're here to all work together, and that's one goal that we all have to accomplish. By the community, all the law enforcement agencies, by working together. And once we do that, there would be no problem.
So if you had some final words for the public, you know, about supporting you, and what, you know, challenges there are, you know, what would you say?
Well, mine is, I would like to ask the Santa Fe County community to support me in restoring confidence and enabling our law enforcement to protect and serve all of us.
That's a good point. Yeah, because the average citizen just wants to live in a safe community. You know, one day, I mean, I was getting down with my groceries at home, and this guy walks in my garage, scared the heck out of me, and I told him, "Oh, you startled me. Don't do that," you know. And then I thought, oh, this guy's halfway in my house, you know. So I think just the regular person wants to be safe.
Yes.
And if you call, you know, they come, and they come immediately. It's because you're in a, you know, fearful situation and frightful, and you don't know what to do. I would call, and then they'd say, well, you know, you got to call the city dispatch, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I'm thinking, okay, well, thank goodness my neighbor came, you know, home. And so I just kind of edged him out and said, you know, like,
well, you know, the thing is even if somebody doesn't feel safe and they want law enforcement to show up, you know, it's better to have a law enforcement officer show up to make sure that you are safe.
I'd rather have one living next door to me.
Well, there's law enforcement everywhere, you know, but we all need to make sure everybody's safe. So if you need to call, you know what, it doesn't matter, call law enforcement. We're there to serve and to protect. That's our goal. And we need to be there for our community. In our community, there are eyes and ears also, because they're the ones that inform us on who is doing wrong. And if we don't have that information, then you know what, we won't be able to solve a lot of the cases that are supposed to be solved by the law enforcement officers.
And then something else came to mind. You know, I was walking off Governor Miles, and this kid came up behind me. He wasn't even really a kid on his bike. So, what are you doing? And you know, you have your little headphones on, and you're just thinking. I said, why are you asking me that? So, you know, it's just kind of, you know, it's not a safe feeling, and when you know, seek to get protection, you want it there. You know?
Yes.
So I commend you. I guess that's where I'm going with this. I commend you for, you know, taking that chance and putting yourself out there and running for office, because I know that it's not easy. So I do want to wish you luck, and we have, you know, just 1 minute left, so I'm going to give you that 1 minute to, you know, talk to the public.
Well, like I said, you know, we need to restore confidence here back within our community to make sure our communities are safe and are protected by our law enforcement officers. So I'm asking the Santa Fe community for their support.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you for being here. And, you know, like I said, I wish you luck. And it's good to see you again after all these years. I've seen you once or twice in the community. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So if you'd like to appear on our program, please give me a call at 827-4533. It's political season, so just give me a call and we'll talk to you about, you know, your concerns and your issues. Thank you for watching.